Hi, and welcome to the Holly C Podcast, a show about expressing your brilliance with ease and flow. I'll show you how to take the woo-woo out of the clouds and apply it to real life for effortless action. This show is for world changers and future world changers, so if you know there's more to life and you're wondering what's next, this is your show. Hi, I'm Holly, your host. I am a dragon spirit guide, a teacher and author of wellness, vitality, and awakening, and I am also a full-time mom. And you may have noticed that these descriptions at the beginning of my show, they change all the time. And why is that? So today's episode is about embracing change, because the way to express your brilliance with ease and flow is to go with the flow and embrace change. There's a lack of ease and flow when you are resisting change. Now, you may not realize you're resisting change. You may think, emphasis on the word think, you may think that you're making progress when really it's just a clever way of your mind to create busy work and to take you away from your path. The mind likes to keep things the same. The mind does not like change. And the reason why is because of fear. By keeping things the same, by staying the same, then there is a perception of the illusion of having things under control. So there's this fear of the unknown because it's a loss of control. And there's the fear that if you don't know what's coming next could be worse than what you have right now. So the mind is stepping in to protect you. It is keeping you, quote unquote, safe by keeping things under control. And then that way you won't have to face the unknown. And that's why there's this resistance to change. When you are following your soul's purpose and expressing your brilliance, you are going to encounter so much resistance. Sometimes it might be paralyzing. Sometimes it will affect your physical body. You'll do something to put yourself out of commission. You'll get sick. You'll catch a cold. You'll catch a flu. You'll get a sore throat. You'll trip and fall. You'll get into an accident. All of this is simply resistance, meaning that you're on the right path. Now, you may be wondering, how do you know the difference between resistance because it's the wrong path and resistance because it's the right path? Well, for that, I would invite you to listen to episode 1, which is about choosing the right path and knowing that you're on the right path. That's one powerful way to know with every cell of your body that you're on the right path. Because sometimes the two paths will feel the same in terms of the resistance and in terms of the fear. So you can be on your soul-aligned path and still be afraid. I'm afraid almost every day. Even as I'm recording this podcast, I feel fear because, let's just say, because when you are on your soul-aligned path, things are going to change. So the way to help make the path easier is to lower the resistance to change, to embrace change. And that's what this episode is about. So today we're going to tune into the dragon spirit space to connect you with your inner guidance, with that voice within that knows the right path, the voice within that is actually leading you towards change, that's embracing change. So it's like having a different perspective, one that's like a higher perspective to see what's going on in your life and why there might be resistance and how to let go of that resistance and embrace change. So dragon spirit is the voice within that craves adventure and excitement, that knows the answers, the most expansive, soul-aligned answers to your questions, every single one of them. It's not a spirit or entity outside of yourself. It is your connection to source energy, to the universe, to God, to whatever name you want to call it, this greater consciousness, this greater collective consciousness that you are a part of. It is not separate from you. It is very much interwoven into the fabric of your being. So to enter the dragon spirit space, you're going to take 3 dragon breaths, and you'll do this by breathing in through your nose and breathing out with your mouth. And if you feel like letting out an audible sigh or a sound like a as you breathe out, feel free to do so. And if it doesn't feel like you want to do that, then you don't have to do that either. So let's begin. Place your hand on your heart. Bring your awareness to your chest. Relax your lungs. Feel them filling up. Relax your chest. And notice even just that simple suggestion, how maybe your posture straightens a little. And it becomes easier to breathe. Relax your throat. Do some gentle head rolls, or neck rolls, or whatever you call them. Just gently moving your head, gently turning it from side to side, looking up, looking down, feeling those muscles in your neck loosening up as you roll your shoulders, opening your jaw wide as if you were to yawn, and let the tension ease out of your jaw as you close your mouth again. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out, relaxing your jaw. Again, breathe in through your nose and breathe out, relaxing your chest as you breathe out. And again, breathing in through your nose and relaxing your throat as you breathe out. I'm being asked to remind you about stillness. There's an entire episode on stillness. I believe that's episode 3. But you don't have to listen to that right now. But if you would like to explore stillness further, you can. But what I want to remind you of is that you are always surrounded by stillness. Even if there is chaos around you, perhaps surrounded by stillness may not be the best term, because when there's chaos around you, it feels like there is no stillness. But as I said earlier, how this collective consciousness, this connectedness, this is a part of the fabric of your being. Stillness is also interwoven into the fabric of your being. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out normally. If you'd like, you can leave your hand on your heart, or you may rest it in your lap. And again, breathing in and breathing out. There was stillness with each of those breaths. Once more, breathe in, pay attention, breathe out. It's not about paying attention to the breaths, the actual breathing part where you're breathing in or you're breathing out. It's paying attention to the space in between. Let's try it again. Breathing in and breathing out. Notice that as you're making the transition, as you're changing from one breath to the other, there's a moment of stillness. What you may not have realized too, and just like how if you were surrounded by chaos, so what comes to mind is a toddler's birthday party at a bouncy house gym with music blaring, the fans going and kids screaming and running around everywhere. That can be pretty chaotic. In there, you are still breathing, and you still have those moments of stillness. And just like whatever most chaotic scene you can imagine, if you bring yourself back into the memory of it and focus on your body and recall your breathing, even if your breathing was faster and it felt like you were having a hard time breathing because you were afraid, perhaps you were in a chaotic situation where there was a great deal of fear, bring your memory back there. Remember the breathing and notice that even with a rapid breath, there is still a pause as you change from breathing in to breathing out, and breathing out to breathing in. And there was a moment of stillness there. I'll give you an example where I sometimes feel fear, where I feel the panic rising up, where I feel this terror, this fear of survival. And it's when I'm riding an airplane. It's not during takeoff or landing, because the shaking plane and the bouncing, that I understand is part of the takeoff and landing process. It's when we're cruising in altitude and we hit turbulence. And the turbulence is, let's just say, quite turbulent. And that is when I can feel the panic rising in myself. What's turbulence other than a lack of control? I have no control over the airplane. I don't know what's going on. Intellectually, I do. I know we've hit a pocket of air that's a little bit different and it's causing the plane to bounce. I know from past experience that the plane has successfully landed on every single flight that I've been on before. But still, the panic, the fear arises. It's not a fear of change, it's just a fear of a loss of control. Because the fear of dying in that situation, intellectually I know it's very low and unlikely. And when that panic is rising up, I have to remember the stillness. And that helps calm me down. Because in between the shaking, the rattling, the bumping, and the movement, in between myself worry that I'm going to vomit and create a scene, which I have never done once, yet the fear still passes through my mind. In that, if I can remember stillness, I can feel less fearful and I can calm myself down. In between each bump and shake, there is a moment of stillness when the plane is not moving. So in between times of change, of chaos, there's always a moment of stillness. And it might be longer than a moment. It could be a plateau in your life. And there may even be a sense of dissatisfaction, a sense of boredom, a sense of seeking, a sense of wanting things to change. And then that's what brings the change. It's like you're calling it forth in that moment of stillness. And you might be wondering, but wait, it's chaos now. I didn't call this forth. I'd suggest you go back and review your thoughts. But review them not just from your mind, but review from your body's perspective. Try to remember the memories with not just what you were thinking, but how you were breathing. So go ahead and try that right now. Just recall anything. It doesn't have to be a moment of stillness, just whatever pops into your mind right now. It's the right scenario, the right memory. Now you might be seeing images. You might be hearing words that were spoken. You might be recalling it as a story. Now recall the story in your mind's eye with your body in the story. Do you remember if you were standing or sitting? Where were your hands? Were you feeling hot or cold or comfortable? What did it feel like to breathe? Do you remember the air? Was it crisp and clear, like in the outdoors? Was it warm and humid on a summer day? Was it a little bit stale, like that smell of the airplane, a mixture of cleaning fluid and stale, stuffy air? In the wintertime, heated a little bit, so there's a slight, I don't want to say burnt smell, but a slight kind of heated air smell. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out. So you might be wondering now, how does this help you embrace change? When you focus on the stillness, there's no fear. And I want to say on that note, let's exit the dragon spirit space, because that's all you really need to know. But your mind, of course, wants a better explanation. So, I'll be happy to give that to you. As I was saying before, the stillness precedes the change. But it's not the only time there's stillness. You're breathing throughout the whole experience of change. So, if you take, I'm just randomly throwing out a number, let's say you take 20 breaths in a minute, then that's 20 moments of stillness. It's why meditation is so effective for people. It's not about focusing on the breathing. And it may be for many disciplines, but the focus on the breathing takes the mind's attention away from focusing on that transition moment of stillness. And it is sometimes valuable to divert the mind's attention, because sometimes too much focus on that space in between could bring you more into your mind. So the breathing itself is a decoy, and the awareness comes in the stillness. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out. Because when you are focused on breathing, all of your mind's attention is there, so that it is less trying to control everything. You could flip it the other way around, where your mind was focused on the space in between. Let's try it. Breathing in and breathing out. Notice that when you tell your mind what to focus on, sometimes it will try to control that aspect. But while it's focused on that, it has released control on the other aspects. So that, let's try it again. Breathing in and focus on the moment of stillness in between. Breathe in and breathe out. By directing the focus onto the moment in between, your mind is less focused on the actual breathing part, and it has released some control. And it's like there's the clarity and space and stillness in the breathing aspect. So it can flip from that space in between to the inhalation or the exhalation. There's stillness when the mind has released its focus and released its desire for control. And then it's much easier to embrace change by releasing that. So this idea of stillness is to show you how, by occupying your mind, by diverting its attention, it allows the change to pass through. it allows change to happen more easily, more effortlessly, because it's less focused on trying to control the situation. So there are many ways to distract your mind. One of the easiest is to actually engage in an activity that requires the mind's full attention in the moment. So that's why things like mountain biking or hiking through nature, where there's a slightly uneven surface, where there are tree roots twisting in your path and you have to be mindful, it's taking your mind's focus off everything else going on. You have to pay attention so that you don't trip over a tree root, or if you're mountain biking, so that you don't go head over your handlebars. For some people, driving is like a form of finding that stillness, because as long as you're not getting agitated at the drivers around you, but if you're focused on the surroundings, being aware of the other cars around you. So yes, you could even find this moment of clarity in rush hour traffic, maybe even more so, as long as you don't allow yourself to get angry and agitated. Anything that requires a lot of brain power, focused in the moment, can distract your mind. Puzzles, like jigsaw puzzles, take up the mind's concentration. Doodling, art, requires the mind's concentration. Music, playing an instrument, requires the mind's concentration. When you're playing music, you have to be in that moment, knowing which notes come next. So I want you to, right now, come up with a list of things to distract your mind. Maybe even listening to this podcast distracts your mind. Notice how you've been listening, and while you're listening, you haven't had as much time and space to worry about things. You see, when you take your mind's attention away from the fear of change, it creates energetic space to allow the change to happen with less resistance, because the mind is not as focused on the change, then it does not need to come up with as much resistance, because it's not paying as much attention and trying to control as much. And even just releasing that a little bit, you'll be amazed by how much more ease and flow there is in your life as you express your brilliance. So think of a few things. It doesn't have to be a big long list. Just even 3 things is good. It may be some of my suggestions, or you may have other ones that come to mind. Horseback riding. You have to be in the moment, paying attention to the horse. Riding a motorcycle. Cooking. Baking. Dancing. This is something that requires concentration in the moment. So, on that note, let's exit the dragon spirit space now. And we'll do that with 3 breaths. So, hand on your heart. Breathe in through your nose. And out through your mouth. In through your nose. Chest expanding, and out through your mouth. Notice how there's more ease and flow in your jaw, your neck, your shoulders. Not so much tension anymore at the end of this dragon spirit meditation. Once more, breathing in through your nose and breathing out. Now I'm being directed to remind you to write down those items that you came up with to distract your mind. And try it out for today, for 24 hours or however long you're awake. So probably not 24 full hours, But for your waking hours, look for opportunities to do those things that you came up with on your list. Build them into your day where you might set up a puzzle on a coffee table and then periodically go to the table and put a few pieces in. Where if you have an instrument, maybe you have a guitar, ukulele, you take it out of the case, set it somewhere prominent that you'll see, and play it a few times here and there. You don't have to play a whole song. Maybe you just tune it the first time. Maybe you just strum a few strings. Whatever the activities are, see if you can build a little bit of that into your day for the next 24 hours. Set a calendar reminder into your phone or computer and have it buzz 24 hours from now. So when it goes off, you take a moment for reflection. Look back on your 24 hours, see how easy it was to do some of those things, or how easy it was to forget to do any of them. And then look at how your day was based on how much distraction there was for your mind. Notice your state of being, how you're feeling 24 hours later. And if you find the experiment makes you feel better, helps you get clarity, where you get that sudden inspiration randomly popping into your head. And if you notice that, then you might want to continue the experiment for another day. Notice how the sudden sound and interruption took your mind off what was going on. Interesting, huh? So I want to thank you for listening to the Holly C podcast. I'm Holly, your host. If you'd like to learn more, you can find my blog about the podcast at hollyc.com. HOLLYTSE.com. And if you don't want to miss a single episode, please subscribe. So I'll be signing off for now. Until our next episode. Bye.